Ladies and gentlemen,
what you gonna do, brother?
Oh yeah!
Woo! What?
If you smell what the rock.
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
Welcome to another edition of Around the Turnbuckle. I'm the Big Alboski. That guy you all know is Professor Keith. And joining us is ECPW's own, the Brat, Raven Knight. What's up, Raven?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
We are beyond excited, Raven. You are our fourth. We have been doing this for nearly 2 years, and you are our fourth female, because finding females in the independent scene is hard to come by. The reason is because there are so few of you, a lot of times you end up, working with the men or trying to train with the men because that's who you have to train with. So, but once upon a time, young little Raven was a fan, just like the rest of us. And just like the rest of us, you fell in love with professional wrestling because, let's face it, you wouldn't get in the ring with these guys if you didn't love wrestling. So, when did Raven fall in love with wrestling, girl?
Well, it started when I was in 6th grade. And I was flipping through the channels, yada, yada, yada. And I saw this one girl named Maurice, the Mrs. wife.
Right.
So, at the time, they were having a segment with Nikki Bella and John Cena. At the time, I don't know who they were. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. So the moment when she slapped John Cena across the face and Nikki Bella's music hit, I'm like, oh my God, I have to keep watching this. This is so cool.
So then you obviously became a fan of Nikki Bella, because I have seen, pictures of you out there on social media where you cosplay as her.
I cosplay, yeah.
So I mean, you have become. I mean, you were a fan of hers before she kind of hung up the boots. I mean, I know she was at the Royal Rumble this past Sunday, but still, for all intents and purposes, her career is over.
Yeah, she's not going to full time again.
Right. So, I know you were also excited based on your Facebook posts that
I was so excited when she came back. I'm like, yes.
And she will do that from time to time, I'm pretty sure. Most likely the Rumble like that, because a lot of times they pull out legends at the Rumble just for some surprises. And this year, there was a lot more female surprises than male surprises in this year's Rumble, which was fun.
They don't have 30 females on the roster, really. I mean, there's some that didn't even make it in because they were just brought in as alternates, because you never know who's going to make it through the COVID protocols.
Right, yeah.
So, Raven, other than the fact that, you train and, you guys have shows going on and things like that, how much of professional wrestling do you take in? Do you pay attention to WWE and AEW? Do you watch it a lot? Do you study old matches, maybe?
I study a lot more of AJ Lee's old matches.
It's a good one.
That is a good one.
And then Nikki Bella's matches, of course. So I don't really watch WWE anymore, just because how they do things with the wrestlers and how they let all the wrestlers go.
I believe you. I don't blame you.
And they had a spelling bee for a segment.
They did. I saw that, Keith. I
was actually gonna comment on that. That's how you make new fans. Not conflict, not people slapping each other around, not fighting. No, spelling bees.
So have you checked out AEW? Because some stuff, listen, with AEW, to me, they have a lot of good stuff and they have a lot of stuff I don't really need. But
I checked out AEW.
The women's division's interesting there.
Yeah, Britt Baker. Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
She's awesome.
She's amazing.
Great, yeah.
So, how old were you when you decided, you know what, I want to do this? I want to learn how to wrestle. And who did you hunt down and who trains you now?
I started when I was 16 years old. So, yeah, a couple of years ago.
Just going to shows and stuff? Did you start going to indie shows or what?
No. Like I looked up online, and FTW
Okay.
popped up. So I'm like, okay, let me give them a call, and I want to see what they train for and like how they do stuff. So I trained with them for 2 years, but since COVID, they shut down,
Mhm.
and I took a break for a year and 6 months.
Okay, so then who did you get in touch with after that? Like who started training you?
Johnny Rods.
Johnny Rods. Yeah, we
Yeah.
know
Great,
that.
great pedigree there.
Yeah. And then
Great company there, being a Johnny Rod student.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like that place.
All right.
Well,
And then what happened after that?
And then I trained with them for 2 months, and they kicked me out because I wasn't vaccinated. And then I went to what was it called in Staten Island? Wars of Wrestling. Have you heard of them?
Wars of Wrestling out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Staten Island, I think.
Yes, and a lot of stuff went down. And now here I am at ECPW New Jersey.
And not to get too personal, but do you live? Is it a far commute for you for ECPW? Or
Oh
are you,
yeah, it's about 2 hours away. I live
it's
in
2
Long
hours
Island.
away. Okay.
Yeah.
you got paying your dues though.
And the reason,
Yes.
right, and you're right, and the reason why I ask that is because when people are pursuing this and they want to learn, and they, a lot of times they stay local to where they live, or they get to, but ECPW, I think you're in good hands there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk about your training. Like, how did you was you what you expected? Like the first time you got in the ring? I mean, did you take that first bump and like, wow, or what?
Oh my god, my first bump. Oh my god.
Wake up
I was
call.
like, I can't breathe. But then I started keep on doing it and doing it and doing it. I got used to it.
What's up, Chris?
Hi, Chris. I don't know who Chris is, but hi.
Oh yeah.
Every
Comments will fly in, and don't worry if anybody says anything negative, I won't let it through.
Oh, thanks. So, the ring at ECPW is very hard.
Okay.
Very hard. So I'm like out of breath every time.
But I mean, you think about it though, Raven. If you're learning in a ring like that, and then you end up in a ring, that's on TV, that's more professional, Impact or AEW or something like that, you might have, you might be used to the, hard knocks, so to speak.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, at the shows. Sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
At the shows, at ECPW shows, the ring is really soft. So that's why I appreciate the ring more, because it's so soft.
Are there other females part of ECW at the moment right now, or is it mostly like you and the guys, basically?
There's a female that goes to training on Saturdays, but unfortunately, I don't have a car, so I can't really go to training on Saturdays.
Right.
So, yeah.
What's up, cousin Phil? Cousin Phil in the house, Keith.
Yeah, Phil almost never comments.
Shout out for cousin Phil. All right, so take us in there, Raven. So have you had your first match? Did you start out learning everything else? Did they teach you like being a manager? Did they teach you being a referee? Like how did they start you out?
Well, at my old company, I did not practice. Oh my God, what am I saying? Like student shows for my company where I had like gear and stuff like that. I did birthday parties. This was way before COVID.
Right.
So they taught me how to be a wrestler. So yeah.
I mean, how did you develop the Brat character?
Oh, well, my inspiration was AJ Lee and Liv Morgan.
Like a combo of those two? Yeah,
exactly. So I can't really do face. I suck at being face, to be honest. I suck at being face.
Some people are they're born heels, and some people are born baby faces. You figure out what you can do, and that's what you can do. You don't let somebody push you into doing something you can't do. I mean, certainly try it, especially now when you're on the student shows, when you're on the stuff that maybe there isn't a camera in your face, so that if it sucks, you can be like, all right, well, thank God only the people that were there saw it, and this won't be on YouTube
Yes.
later, haunt me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah.
So, they have you had matches for ECW? That's what I'm trying to get at.
No, not yet. No, not yet.
Just so you're still in the phase of learning
Yeah.
but have you been valeted at other wrestlers, or
At Professional Magic, I was a manager for my brother Michael Blade,
right?
and he
Yeah.
got me that opportunity. So thank you if he's watching this.
Shout
A
out to
shout
the
out to Michael
brother.
Blade.
Absolutely. So
So yeah.
so tell us about that experience. Like, how was that performing in front of a crowd?
Oh my god. A lot of fans were like, "Give AJ Lee her Converse back." Blah blah blah. They were cussing at me.
Oh yeah, they'll be
Oh,
nasty. Sure.
fans are brutal, especially in this area. They're not usually the nicest, and a lot of it
Yeah.
is because the tri-state is spoiled. Because the tri-state gets so much wrestling that it's why I don't like some of the crowds around here sometimes, because it's like, number
Mhm.
one, people are hurting themselves for your entertainment. Every
Right.
time somebody takes a bump, they are hurting themselves. If they're not good, okay, we don't need to point that out and discourage them, because sometimes people are learning. I certainly don't like the people that go to WWE shows and want to piss on Roman Reigns and
Oh
prove that they're the
yeah.
smartest mark in the world. Like, okay, number one, you're being an asshole. Stop.
Right.
Number two, Vince doesn't care. You
Yeah,
paid
Vince
for
don't
your
care.
ticket. He has your money. He won. He got your money. He wins. You lose. So just don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
Truer words weren't ever said, Keith. All right, so you're not at the point yet where you're actually having matches on shows,
Yeah.
is what I'm getting at. So,
Yeah.
how far do you think you are from that happening?
Well, my trainer said that in about 2 months I will make my debut for them. They just don't have a girl for me to wrestle because I guess they have like a bad reputation of um girls at ECPW. That's what I heard. So yeah.
All right, so when we have talent your age on, when we have you this young, we like to try to give advice rather than get, because when somebody's been doing it for 10 years, 15 years, a lot of times they feel like, well, I'm on this platform, so I'm going to not only tell my story, but I'm also going to give some advice out for the young talent out there.
And we encourage that
And
too.
we encourage that. But
Right.
you are at a position now where you're just kind of getting in this thing. And before I ask you about the future, which, I don't know what you're going to say, but what I'm saying is before I ask you about what the future holds for you or what you think the future holds for you, I would love to prey upon the professor as far as Keith, what would you think the best, if you were able to give Raven the best advice you could possibly think of giving her, what would that be, knowing what we just learned over the past 15 minutes about where she's at in her training?
Well, I mean, my first question would be, because you're saying the issue isn't really a readiness issue, it's more of a having an opponent issue. Is there anybody else that they work with, or any promotion that's more local to you that you might be able to go to and say, like, hey, I'm Raven, da 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 da, here's my credentials, all that. So you could kind of start getting the reps, try to find someone that maybe books more females. I mean, is that an option at all?
I'm gonna have to look into it because I know they are connected with Prime Wrestling, or I think that's what it's called.
Prime, yeah.
Yeah, I know they have a bunch of girls wrestling for them. So
I wonder if they know Titan. You might want to ask the promoter that.
Oh, I know Titan. Yeah,
and
I know Titan.
Because when we mentioned before we went on the air, we mentioned Vicious Vicky, who is their current women's champion, and she's also now she just recently won a women's championship in another Jersey promotion, so now she's got 2 belts. But
Vicky 2 belt.
yeah, well,
She have that one for 3.
she's Vicky 2 belts, right? But anyway, Vicky has been on this show before, and Vicky loves talking to young talent because she's been doing it a while now, and that's somebody I would love you to cross paths with. I don't care if it was in the capacity of you just happen to be at a Titan show, or you just, and if Vicky ever watches this, I want you to cross paths with this girl, because she's at an age, she's at 19, where when we had Vicky on, Vicky talked about herself back when she was 18, 19 years old, and where she is now. Those kind of brains, you can't put a price tag on that, Raven. Like, right. You can't put a price tag on talking to especially female wrestlers who have been traveling around the independent scene, even if it's locally around here, and have picked the brains of people along the way. So when you pick their brain, you're picking the brain of everybody she's ever talked to. And she's talked to a lot. I mean, she's talked to legends in this business. She hosts a radio show thing where they have legends come in and they do virtual signings online where people can send them their stuff and they can watch them autograph and talk. I mean, she's talked to all kinds of legends in the business. So that's somebody I really, if I can find a way to put you guys together, even if it's just via text message,
I would love to face her and take those 2 belts away from her.
Ooh, well, see, there you went and said it, Vicky. That's the words out of Raven do not reflect the opinions of us on Around the Turnbuckle.
Is she a heel
but I mean, that would
snap! It's Raven. Thundercat Greg Winters. Do you know him?
I think so. Yeah.
You know Thundercat down in TWA?
I think I have him on Facebook.
There you go. Thundercat checking in. What's up, Thundercat? So,
guys that never says anything bad about anybody, and nobody has anything bad to say about him.
Right.
Now, is Vicky a heel or is she a face?
She's a heel.
Yeah.
Never mind. Then I take back what I said.
And she loves that. I mean, like you said earlier, the differences between heel and let's be real. It's a lot easier to piss them off than it is to make them love you.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And maybe, I don't know you personally, but, you know, you had said earlier that you enjoy being the heel.
Oh,
and that's great, because that just means that there's part of your personality where you don't give a crap what anybody thinks. Right.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you, Big Chris. Are you in the process of working on a finishing move?
Yes, I am.
What would that be?
I call it the Nightlock. It's on my Facebook. I did it on Michael Blade. It's kind of AJ Lee's move. It's the Black Widow.
The Black Widow, right?
Yeah.
But your version, your tweak on it.
But I make it in my own.
Yeah.
So you're
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, look, if you take from one person, it's stealing. If you take from a bunch of people, it's an homage.
Right.
Exactly. Like the Bella Buster, for instance. I know I do the Bella Buster all the time from Nikki Bella, but I put my own twist to it.
Exactly, and that's what it's all about. There's really almost nothing new under the sun. There's maybe I think I heard once. There's only really 3 or 4 stories in wrestling, just like there's only 3 or 4 stories in the world that everything is based off of. What is your particular twist on it? What is your particular flavor of it? Because at the end of the day, right, it's all about how do people get into a fight. There's only so many reasons people get into a fight. You just have to make it compelling.
Yep.
Thundercat Greg says you should hit that top rope Frankensteiner. Do you do a top rope Frankensteiner?
No.
No.
No. That's too
I think
scary.
So
I think Greg's just trying to. I don't know what he's trying to do.
I want to find the answer to this question. This next question.
I know that.
This next question, Professor, because she's 19, so she has less than 20 years to choose from. So, bottom line is, what was your favorite all-time women's match?
That's a hard one. I have a lot of favorite women matches. I liked when Chelsea Green, when she was back in WWE,
Yeah.
faced Natalia.
Ooh, that's an
So-
interesting one. That's an interesting one.
I'm a big fan of Chelsea Green too.
Yeah, they really didn't do much with her. I was very disappointed
Yeah.
in that.
It's sad.
You know, I think Natalia's the most underrated female wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
And
I think she's starting to get her due now. Natalia's problem was when she came along. When she came along, it was the diva era, and
Right.
you're going to be the workhorse for the models and all that.
yeah,
And I mean, credit to her that she's hung in there. But now she's in this weird position where it's like, but you've been there forever, so
so
we
now
have
she's
the
the veteran,
shiny,
right?
right? And it's like we have the shinier, newer girls. So like, yes, you're important, and we'll respect that and all that. But
Yeah.
you're not going to be a focus. You're not going to be like. It's very similar to like a Beth Phoenix, where it's just you're the right person, but you came along at the wrong moment.
Well, I gotta say that my favorite Natalia match of all time was, and I don't know if Raven has ever seen this one, but when back in NXT, when Charlotte was still in
I
NXT,
knew it.
and it was the finals for the title,
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
she had Ric Flair in her corner, and Natalia had Bret the Hitman Hart in her corner. That was a great match. I mean, they went
Absolutely.
they went 30-40 minutes. It just was back and forth, and they showed everything they could do, and it was great. And Charlotte's reaction to her winning her first singles title on TV was real. I mean, she was shaking and bawling her eyes out, which was really cool. So, I mean, you know, and well, you know, look at Charlotte now.
Yeah.
Here's
Smack
the
division.
the answer to this next question is very, very important to the professor. How do you feel about Charlotte Flair?
You're not gonna like me when I say this, Professor.
Not me,
but-
Professor. The professor might have the same opinion.
Well, I think she.
You
I
can
don't
say
like
it.
her. I don't like her.
And why don't you like her?
It's because I feel like she didn't work hard to get her way to WWE. She just has her dad just to.
Because she's a Flair, she's gotten more opportunities than she should have.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think there's some validity in that. Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to say she didn't work hard because I don't know what she did. And look, you don't get to where she is by accident. Having a famous relative is only going to get you so far. I do think that we've gotten to a place where we're too reliant on her, where it's almost becoming the Ric Flair thing of like, well, she hadn't had the belt for a few months, just go give her the belt. I mean, with Flair, you can say, oh, 16 times champion. Okay, but he was champion that many times because in some cases it was like, shit, the guy we really wanted to be a thing isn't working out, or oh, Sting's not ready yet, go give it to Flair.
Right.
Shit, Luger did really good against the Horseman, and we thought he was ready. And then whenever we let him work with somebody that wasn't the Horseman, it didn't work because the people in charge didn't understand, like, yeah, if anyone works with the Horseman, if I worked with the Horseman, I would look like I knew what I was doing, and I would look like a star because the Horsemen were that good. But with Charlotte, I don't think you have that problem. I don't think you have this depleted roster that you need to keep going back to her. I think you can build some other stars. And that's not to say beat Charlotte into powder, because she's certainly an asset. You don't beat her into powder. But Jesus Christ, somebody else. She can lose every once in a while to make.
Well, she's gonna
the new
lose at
star.
Mania to Ronda Rousey, so there you'll be
Oh,
fine.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's not
yeah.
making a new star.
Right. All right. So same question, Raven, about Sasha Banks.
I like her. I think she worked hard, but they're giving her too many opportunities. It's like, come on, give like Liv Morgan an opportunity. Push Liv Morgan.
They just started doing that though. Have you noticed that? Like Liv's kind of getting better and better, I think.
Absolutely. She's amazing.
Greg says, I personally don't think that they should have tried to bring back the Horsemen. Like, you mean the 4 horsewomen? Is that what he means?
I think he means the Horsemen.
Oh,
generally.
that okay.
He's right. We've had some truly.
Liv Morgan does need that push. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I love Liv. I really do.
Yeah. Part of the problem now is it's Mania season, and this is where I get angry every year, and this is part of why I don't watch television. I don't watch the shows so much around this time of year, because why should I get angry and make myself angry in my own home, as Jim Burnett says. But to me, this is the point where you should be looking at that new talent. You should be taking that person that you've been kind of elevating all year, and now you're ready for them to go after the big run, which is kind of how it used to be.
Well, they did it last year with Bianca Belair.
Yeah, and look what happened. And that's problem. And that's my issue right there.
She won the Royal Rumble. She won her main event match at WrestleMania. After that, they didn't have a plan. I mean, what do you want? I mean, what do you want her to
plan?
Huh?
I want a plan. How is this hard? Pat Patterson and Vince McMahon used to sit there with a notebook and go, okay, 6 months from now, we're going to be here. And at WrestleMania, we're going to be here.
He only cares about January to WrestleMania. You know,
that.
Oh, come on.
And that's the problem, and especially the way they do it, because it's like, oh, we got a show in Saudi Arabia, dust off Goldberg. Let's go get the Goldberg pop again. It's like, look, all respect to Goldberg, but if they're not putting new talents over, there are only so many bullets left in that gun.
Goldberg's just for the Saudi.
I'm not mad at Goldberg. Honestly, I'm not mad at Goldberg on this one, because you know what? There's no top star anywhere ever that said, don't push me.
Right.
No top star anywhere that never said, don't push me, or don't let me win, or don't let me be the biggest thing in the world. I think that's stupid when people sit there and go, oh, well, the top guy should sit there and go, he should advocate to get beat. Why? Why would he do that? That's
Why
not
you're still on top.
That's not in his best interest, or the top girl, the top anybody.
All right, back to Raven. All right,
just
so
back with what she said.
We get on WWE and he starts going, Raven.
It's okay.
But anyway. So back to you. First off, before we get into your future, let's talk about your present. Is there any ECPW events coming up that you will be there?
Oh yeah. February 11th.
That's next week.
Yes, next week. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna do maybe tickets, help out with music, pay my dues.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Supporting my other fellow wrestlers.
And that's what you do. I mean, that's part of the paying the dues process. That's the whole thing. So there, if you're interested in seeing and meeting Raven and seeing some good local wrestling right there, ECPW. Where's that? You know what town that's in?
I forgot what it's.
Okay, that's all right. Does ECPW have a website or a Facebook page?
Yes, they have a Facebook page. You can go to my profile and scroll through.
And on Facebook, it's Raven Knight. Where is ECPW? It's in New Jersey, Greg.
It's New Jersey, yes.
New Jersey. Bro, they definitely need more ideas, and if you think about it, they really need to make their own personal promos.
Oh yeah, I mean everything.
Sidebar there, Raven. How are you at promos so far?
With my heel, I'm great at it, but with my face, I kind of stutter and I stop. I go, "Meet me at." Oh shoot! What do I say?
Got to make that drive, Thundercat. If you're making that drive to an ECPW show, Keith, we need to go meet that guy in person because
I agree.
Greg's
Yeah.
become a friend and he lives down in Tennessee. And I would love if you're coming north, brother, you better let us know. You better let us know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So back to Raven. So Raven, so you have that coming up next week. So now the all important question is, what do you want out of professional wrestling?
I want to make AEW.
Okay.
Yeah, because if I feel like if I go to WWE, they're gonna use me for 2 months and then, oh, sorry, we don't need you anymore. Bye.
Right.
I don't want to, and I can't wrestle for 90 days. That's stupid. You know?
Right. Exactly. And I'm sorry, I was reading Greg's next comment, which is I'd love it, man. Wrestle in Tennessee, live in Alabama. That's right. You do live in Alabama. I forgot about that. I apologize. He wrestles for TCW in Tennessee or TNA TCW.
TWA? I thought it was TWA, wasn't it? Or am I confusing it? I know
TWA,
there's
you
somebody
are right.
posting
See,
around there.
Raven,
Okay.
we talked about this. We talked to so many wrestlers, and they have all these. There's TCW and TWA,
Yeah.
and it gets confusing. TWA in Tennessee. Shout out to the boys. All right. So anyway, Greg, let us know if you're coming to Jersey. Raven wants to be in AEW. Keith, good idea.
I mean, I think so. I think AEW is kind of becoming the place, and they have, and look, credit to them. They have the shows and they have the support of TNT and all that to be able to bring people in, have a look at them, sign them up. I mean, the only thing, and I think they're starting to learn it now, is you can't sign the entire world. There is a
Right.
limit to your television time. There is a limit to how much it makes sense to have on your roster. Certainly shouldn't sign all the EVP as friends because not all their friends are created equal.
Keith, are
Right.
you ready for this
Look at
comment?
death threats.
Raven, I might introduce you to Merrick Miami, who is a local wrestler here in Pennsylvania where I live. He is the former 3WA, and I stress the word former, 3WA Extreme Champion Merrick Miami. But to his credit, he recently beat Matt Cardona. You know who that is, I hope.
That's Chelsea Green. I think that's Chelsea Green's husband, right?
Yes.
Oh
You
my
go.
God.
How about that?
That's amazing.
Merrick is here watching and supporting you and saying, I recently asked the same question on a podcast. What is the one thing you desire to be remembered for years from now when your wrestling career is over? Good question, Merrick. Thank you very much, Mr.
That's a
Miami.
really good question. I really want to be remembered as the Brat
Mm-hmm.
and someone who, outside from wrestling, you can like really relate to me and stuff like that. I'm not actually a brat outside of the ring.
Jay Babbage, you know him?
No.
Also look at promotion called SAW. I absolutely will. And where are they located, Jay? Let me know where they're located. We support, and that's the thing, Raven. We support a lot of the local organizations here in Pennsylvania, but we haven't quite drifted too much into New Jersey. So we want to do that because Keith himself lives in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I always make him come out to me. I would love to jump in a car and come out to him and check out New Jersey wrestling too, because I'm a Jersey boy. I'm from New Jersey. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, but I'm from the western side, like along the Delaware River. But
okay.
But anyway, I was born and raised in New Jersey, and Keith lives in Jersey, and we want to support Jersey wrestling just as much as we support Pennsylvania wrestling, because we do. We go to a lot of shows. Merrick Miami says to you, good answer. Boys, I appreciate the I beat Matt Cardona plug, but don't get me started on losing my title. No, I'd rather not. I'm talking to Raven Knight.
I think everyone is contractually obligated to mention that he beat Matt Cardona. Like, if you don't mention it at least once.
So, Raven,
do
you, when you're not training, training, whether it be once or twice a week, however often you do it, when you're not training, what else are you doing to try to prepare yourself for what's to come, because if you want to make it at AEW, you have to eat, breathe, and sleep professional wrestling. So my question is not necessarily working out, because I know you work out. I've seen your social media, but it's not that. It's, do you study? Do you watch old matches? Do you check out maybe wrestlers that have maybe wrestled before you were born?
Yeah, I sometimes watch WWF and study those matches.
Okay.
Like
Lita, Trish, kind of stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. That's a great answer, because I was worried you were gonna not know who
no, I know
Lita and Trish are. That Jay says SAW is located in Jersey. It is if you're in the Schuylkill Haven area on February 26th, SAW is running a show. Thanks, Jay. That's awesome.
Jay, I was trying to look them up. Can you tell me what SAW stands for? I get a lot of results when I type it in the Google machine.
Well, when you type in the word Saul, you're probably going to get the movie.
No, I mean, I was smart enough to put wrestling, but it gives me a lot of wrestling.
Oh, so here's a question for you, Raven. What do you do outside of wrestling? Do you have a job, a shoot job? Do you, because starting out money's not so good. Do you have enough time to train?
I work in a daycare center.
Okay.
Like, meaning like I'm a teacher's assistant for a daycare teacher. I basically watch kids and help them like learn and like do all the stuff. Yeah.
How does your family feel about the whole wrestling side
My
of you?
mom, she's crazy. I can't. She worries about me too much.
Is she within earshot?
The last time she went to my student show, she goes, "Ooh, my poor baby girl. Oh my god." So I can't take her nowhere.
That's awesome. That is a good thing, Greg says, to go back and watch old school stuff, because women wrestlers these days are getting a lot of moves from older matches.
And don't just watch the women, watch the guys too. What kind of style are you trying to develop in the ring?
Like, I'm a high flyer. I can't pick up like 200 like guys. I can't do that. I'm not strong enough to do that. So
Keith, SAW stands for Stand Alone Wrestling. The promoter is Chad Mines. You can find them on Facebook.
Okay.
Thanks, Jay. That's awesome, brother. And by the way, Jay, if you're a wrestler, hit us up if you want to be on here.
Yeah.
And that's how Raven. That's how this is what happens when we have somebody new, especially new, young, and fresh like yourself. People come on and they offer you advice. Greg's been offering you advice. Just Big Chris asking you questions, getting you talking, and then here's a guy telling us about another wrestling organization in Jersey that we can check out. And the next thing you know, we have more guests. It's all word of mouth.
Yep.
So when you go back to ECW, if there's somebody that you talk to all the time, or maybe even your brother that would like to come on and tell their story, we would love to have them.
Absolutely.
Greg says, well, I do high flying and technical.
He does.
I've seen Greg's matches, Raven, and Greg's like a combination of like if Rey Mysterio and Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson had a kid. You know what I mean? That
combines the best of both.
Oh yeah.
And that was gonna be one I would suggest. Like, you're watching Lita, watch Mysterio. You know, there's a ton of Mysterio you can watch through all
Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero is a great one to watch. The WCW cruiserweights. I would say watch guys like William Regal too, for the technical and for the psychology of what he does. Arn Anderson is great for psychology and all of that too. Who else would I recommend? Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts, phenomenal psychology. Anything with Jake. Don't
old school promos too. Like, you don't have to watch just matches. Check out old promos, because they used to do them a lot more often in the back with like Mean Gene Okerlund and things like that back in old WWF days you were talking about before. And I'm not talking like Hulk Hogan or craziness like that, but I'm talking like some of the other wrestlers, like Jake the Snake or Roddy Piper. Or,
oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that
Rhodes,
kind of stuff.
Ric Flair, definitely ones to watch for the psychology, that ability to talk them into the building.
Jay says I'm not a wrestler, but I do ring crew for different promotions the last 2 years. That's awesome, brother.
That's
I mean,
great.
you're involved in the business. Involved in the business is whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know Jay. He's one of my friends on Facebook.
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, look, without the ring, you don't set up the ring, you ain't got no show.
Right.
Bottom line,
Right.
ring crew is super important.
For ECPW shows, I always set up the ring and stuff like that. Set up, the apron and the chairs and all the stuff.
Have they ever talked to you about refereeing just to, in the context of, if there's a match, just getting in the ring and the fluidity of it all and where you need to be and things like that. Sometimes that helps.
Gino, my trainer, he didn't really say anything to me about roughing for the shows.
Right.
Because honestly, I'm not really good at roughing.
Have you ever tried it? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say those student shows probably they give you a chance to do a little bit of everything to figure out what you're good at.
All right, so there's a question, Raven, that we ask every single guest on Around the Turnbuckle, and that is, if Raven Knight could book herself against any wrestler, alive, dead, still wrestling or not wrestling, who would that be and why? And it doesn't necessarily have to be female, but I mean, it's up to you.
I would love to wrestle Liv Morgan because the way she moves in the ring, it's just so inspiring, and I want to see how she works in the ring. But not only me in the ring, but I just like her stuff.
And what she was 5 years ago with the Riot Squad.
Oh,
and what she is now is amazing. Like she has put
so
the
amazing.
Work. You can see the work. You can see the work. I mean, she just hung with Becky Lynch, which is pretty freaking awesome. I mean, she had Becky beat a couple times, so she really looked good in that match.
Absolutely.
You kind of knew she wasn't going to win, but could she hang with Becky Lynch? The answer to that question is at this point, yes.
Yes.
And you could, and that sometimes that propels her to the next level because Becky Lynch and Charlotte aren't going to be around forever. And so they need to start pushing people like Liv Morgan. And I really hope they do. And that's a great answer.
We don't need to push anybody new, pal. I'll just bring them out at WrestleMania time.
Keith was really, really scared you were going to say Nikki Bella, but that's
no, that's my girl.
Look, I get it. Look, Matt Quay is one of my favorite wrestlers locally right now. I love what he's doing.
The American Hammer.
John Cena was his inspiration. I get it. To me, these guys were good. I understand that they were good. They were good at what they did. They bad characters I didn't agree with. Right now, I love John Cena as an actor. That Peacemaker show is amazing. It is one of my favorite things on television right now.
Right.
So yeah. I get it. My taste is what my taste is. It doesn't mean that, I'm right and the rest of the world is wrong. I wasn't a big fan of The Rock, but you know what? I respected that The Rock being there, making the money he did, and being in the position he did, allowed me to see some of the guys that I did like that were lower down the card and help make them a bunch of money. Because that's the thing. You need that main eventer that pulls the train so everybody else can make that big money. Because if he ain't over and you ain't coming to see that person, everybody else is going to starve too.
So right. Raven, if you don't make it to AEW, what's the backup plan?
The backup plan, I'm just going to keep trying. If I don't make AEW, then I'll go to Impact Wrestling. If I don't make Impact Wrestling, then I'll go to ROH, If I don't make all of those three, I would just stick to my teacher's assistant, but still wrestle.
You love wrestling. You have passion. I can hear it when you talk about it. Did you used to watch it with your parents as a kid, or did they take you to any shows? Have you ever been to WrestleMania?
I've been to one WrestleMania. I've been to WrestleMania 35, and I was sitting all the way on top where like the ring looks really, really small,
Right.
like a toy. So I've been to Raw 25. I've been
Okay.
to On the Road to WrestleMania,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been to Evolution, one of my favorites.
Sure.
And one day I just looked at my dad and I'm like, you know what, Dad? I'm going to be in there someday. I'm going to get in that ring.
How does he feel about it?
He supports me 100%, but with how the guys act in professional wrestling, that
Right.
he's overprotective.
Well, newsflash,
Yeah, I was
sweetheart.
gonna
All
say,
dads
yeah,
have the.
any
I
dad,
have.
any dad.
I have 2 daughters.
Mhm.
All dads are overprotective.
Mhm.
All right. There's
So,
never gonna be somebody good enough for you for the rest of your life.
Right. Right.
I personally know Johnny Swinger and Mike Jackson from Impact.
That's crazy.
That's
Winger's
cool,
been doing this forever.
right? Absolutely. Yeah, so shout outs to everybody who has been chiming in. I really want to throw some appreciation out to you guys. Greg the Thundercat, Jay Babbage, Merrick Miami
Yeah.
for popping in there when you did. Big Chris Vant, you're always there, brother. I love you. But thank you for everybody who's been popping in and giving this young lady advice
Thank you so much.
because I tell you what, man, this is why we do this, man. We have you come on, we tell your story, we tell what you want out of this business, and then we try to get people to give you advice, and that kind of just happened natural tonight. I really didn't. I was worried that it would just be me and Keith just having a conversation with you, and all these guys are throwing stuff your way. So I love it. I absolutely love it
It's amazing.
that you were able to put in the time and the work, get your name out there, and wrestle as much as you can. And good luck to you.
Thank you so much. I
Big,
appreciate it.
Big Chris down there in South Carolina. He has a lot better weather than we do, Keith.
Ah.
So, what?
More rain, more cold.
So, wait, what was that again? Well, we all love this show. Thank you.
We appreciate that,
I
guys.
appreciate that, Thundercat. Thundercat in the house. I love him. All right. So Raven, one of the last things that we ask our guest, just for fun, this is fun, okay?
Okay.
Is we flip the script. All right. We just talked about Raven Knight for 45 minutes. So now we're going to flip the script and you're interviewing us. So you can ask us anything you want. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about wrestling, but if it's about wrestling, that's fine. So if you had anything to ask us, what would that be?
How did you get into wrestling, and how did you start this, turnbuckle, promotion?
All right, Keith, I'll let you tell your story first, and then I'll tell you mine.
I've told my story 100 times, so I know the audience is bored, but you've never heard it. So screw it, guys. You're going to listen to it again.
But Raven never heard it.
I never heard it. I want to hear it.
So you can see behind me, you can see kind of my little shrine to the Undertaker there. So when I was about 6 or 7 years old, if you might have seen it on like old WWF broadcasts, they used to have, some of the guys would have like an interview segment, and Taker had one. It wasn't necessarily Taker's segment because back then he was the big scary Michael Myers guy that didn't talk.
Oh yeah.
So he had his manager Paul Bearer had this segment called the Funeral Parlor. My brother was the wrestling fan. I didn't really care for it or care about it. Like, I knew who the Ultimate Warrior was. I knew who Andre was, Hogan. I kind of got that contact knowledge because he was so into it. But it was like, yeah, Andre seemed cool, and it made him get all pissed off when I'd be like, oh, is he going to beat Hogan? Warrior was Flash. He was like a superhero. I'm a superhero guy, all that. So I'm like, all right, but still not enough to sit down and watch it. So this was on. I see Warriors on it. I see the creepiness that is Paul Bearer, and I love horror. I love the supernatural. I've loved all that stuff since I was a kid. Big horror movie guy, all that. So I'm like, that's interesting. So I stop and I sort of start watching it, and then the Undertaker comes out of the casket from nowhere and nails Warrior, stuffs him into this custom coffin, and they lock it and they walk away. And I'm like, the hell was that? Who was that guy? Oh, that was the Undertaker. Does he wrestle a lot? Every few weeks or so. I'll watch that guy. And I've been watching it pretty much ever since. I watched a couple WrestleManias and stuff to catch up. That was like the gateway drug, and then I really got hooked when I saw Piper versus Bret Hart, Double Juice, Mania 8.
Mania 8.
Still one of the damnedest matches.
Sure. I think it's in my top 5 for sure.
Yeah, another good one to watch for the psychology and what they did. It's not that they did a million things, it's that everything they did mattered. So
Right.
I've been a fan ever since. I've lived and died with the Undertaker, and having him out is kind of like, well, I gotta find something else now. So it's nice to be able to do this, and it is. Wrestling is a hell of a drug.
Yep, it's definitely my drug, but it's a good, healthy drug.
Okay.
So that's my story of how I got in.
It's very awesome. That's so cool.
So Raven, just for context here, I'm older than Keith. I'm 45.
You don't look 45. You look like 38.
I appreciate it. I really do. I thought she was going to say, you don't look 45, you look 42. But
No.
no, but
No, she really knows how to suck up, man.
38, I'm good. But no, I really appreciate you saying that. But anyway, so when I started watching wrestling, it was a secret thing that my grandmother and I used to do because my parents didn't want me watching it when I was 5 years old. They said it was too violent. But I've literally been watching wrestling since I was 5. So we're talking 40 years of wrestling. And, most of it was WWF, but I did venture into WCW later on. And whenever I saw wrestling on TV, whether it be Prism or whether it be Saturday Night's Main Event, I had to watch it. And then later on, they had shows every Saturday morning. So you'd have the Saturday morning cartoons back in the 80s. And then you had wrestling, like WWF would be on at 10 in the morning or 11 in the morning. But how I fell in love with professional wrestling was my stepfather took me to TV tapings in Allentown, Pennsylvania and Hamburg, Pennsylvania, when they used to tape Superstars of Wrestling. So I would see Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Macho Man Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, Jimmy Snuka, and those guys. And they did a taping of Piper's Pit that you can look up if you've never seen it, where Roddy Piper hit Snuka over the head with a coconut. I was in the building. I was 9 or 10 years old, something like that. And I was in the building when that happened. And I had the same look on my face for the rest of the day. I remember my stepfather said, "Yeah, are you okay?" And I'm looking at him like, with the same wide eyes. And I'm like, that was freaking awesome. And I fell in love with wrestling, not just wrestling, but Roddy Piper. And not just Roddy Piper, but the heels.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
as Keith will tell you, his favorite guy is The Undertaker of all time. I'm saying my favorite guy of all time is Macho Man Randy Savage, but especially when Macho Man Randy Savage was a heel. And that's why to this day, I still root for the heels, whether it be in wrestling, whether it be in movies. It doesn't matter. I root for the bad guy. I always have, and I always will root for the bad guy because of Roddy Piper smashing the coconut over the head of Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Now, to answer your around the turnbuckle question, Keith and I started around the turnbuckle back in May of 2020 in the heart of the pandemic.
So right smack in the pandemic.
And how that started was it was a conversation for like 2 years where we had a group chat where me, him, and a couple other friends were just always talking about wrestling. And then that developed into, we should do a podcast or a show or a live stream or something to that effect about wrestling. So we eventually did it where it was just a bunch of guys just sitting around talking about, what's going on in WWE and things like that.
We had no clue how to do this shit properly. We had like Zoom calls.
What it has.
if you go back and watch it, only go back and watch
please
it just
don't.
to see, like, oh god, they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Like, that video quality is
Please
terrible.
don't.
Oh,
Please don't watch
yeah.
like early around the turnbuckles because they're ridiculous. But anyway, we still go back to that every once in a while. Like we just did recently we did a Royal Rumble special where we just talked about the Royal Rumble. But for the most part, each and every Sunday we come on here and we take a independent wrestler, no matter where you're from, to come on here, tell your story, maybe get advice, or if they've been in the business a while, maybe give advice. And this is our way of giving back to the business that has entertained us for in Keith's story 30 years, in my story 40 years.
32 or so now. I mean, I'm going to be 39 next month, so we might as well just, add the fucking number on there.
That's amazing.
Right. And so that is why Around the Turnbuckle exists. If anything, it is a place for independent wrestlers to come, tell their story, help build their brand, help get them out there, and help practice for the big dance. Because when you do become famous, and we listen, by all means, we hope and wish the best for you.
Thank you.
We hope that you took some of the advice you received tonight to heart,
Absolutely.
study, keep wrestling, keep working at it, because I would love to see you on AEW and be like, hey, remember when she was on? Hey, Keith, remember when she was on Around the Turnbuckle? Because that'd be awesome. That'd be the biggest thrill of my life. And trust me,
we have had a couple people,
and we have had a couple of people come through here that have made it. They kind
of had the in already, to be fair, but
well, Joshua J. Dawkins was on here, and you might know him on 205 Live as Malik Blade. Is it Malik Blade?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
He was on here, and there was a wrestler named Irvin Legend on here who had a matchup recently on AEW Dark. So
that's crazy.
That's the biggest thrill for us. The biggest thrill for us is, oh my God, we get so excited for the people that have come on here and shared their stories with us, and we stay in touch with each and every one of them. As you can see, the people who everybody you saw give you advice tonight were people that have been on this show, in some cases a few times. So again, Raven, you are more than welcome to come back.
Oh, I would love to come back.
I would love to see you in like 6 months or maybe a year and see where you are at that point. That'd be great.
Absolutely,
like a follow-up thing. And again, the only thing we ever ask in return from anybody that comes on here is to send us as many people as you might think might want to do it. And that's it, because the word of mouth thing is how we get guests. People ask me that all the time. How do you know all these wrestlers? I don't. They contact me and they're like, hey, I watched Around the Turnbuckle recently. How do I become a guest? And it starts off with a conversation. In your case, Keith, I don't know if you noticed, but in Raven's case, we got Raven through JCM.
I forgot to mention him. Yeah, thank you, JC.
And and JCM will be watching this. And JCM, huge shout out to you.
Yes.
For sending Raven to us.
Thank you so much.
Because she was a delight, and I can't wait to see what happens with her next. And we're gonna be watching. Trust me, we're gonna be watching.
Yeah. Yeah, like Alan was saying, I mean, the whole thing with this show is it's a series of lucky breaks. Luckily his brother TJ knew James Brickhouse, who's a local manager with a promotion here, and
we keep making friends and we keep meeting people.
Thankfully came on, he had a good time. He recommended us to some of his friends, and we've just been going through and getting people all the time.
Merrick Miami says, one last thing from me. I'm sure you've heard it, less is more.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people have been telling me if you do less moves or just,
Watch Hulk Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania 18 and then watch it on mute. You'll get why people say that.
Okay.
Amazing for psychology. Yes, definitely watch that. Because I've always said, like, for me as a fan, I've watched WWE, I've watched WCW. I was a big ECW fan, which is kind of ground zero for a lot of that, speed it up. hit hard, high impact, all that stuff. I've watched early Ring of Honor and things like that. And I've always said, like, my criticism with a lot of stuff is it's not that I think it's bad. It's that it's almost too good and a lot of people are too similar, if this makes sense. I don't think it's a good idea to have a 4-hour show where everybody goes 100 miles an hour from the first match to the last match, because I'll walk away from it and I'll go, I know that was good, and I know what I watched was good, and I know people worked hard, but I cannot for the life of me remember a damn thing they did, because it all went by so fast and everybody did things that were so similar. And that's the thing. You've got to slow it down to let the impact roll in there. You sometimes, if you do something crazy, like we'll use Greg's example. You do a top rope Frankensteiner. Let it breathe.
Right.
Let that go for a while, because that was an insane move. You just killed your opponent.
And they're still buzzing on that.
Yourself. But then there are the people out there that are like, yeah, I just did a top rope Frankensteiner. Now we're going to pop up and we're going to go into a power bomb, and then we're going to go into a pile driver spot, and then we're going to go into bouncing off the ropes. We're going to hit each other with our bodies, and then we're going to stand up and we're going to face off. It's like, no, you just went through 5 finishing maneuvers in the last 2 minutes. You've killed all of those moves as finishes now, and why? Like, you didn't sell anything. You didn't let the crowd up. You didn't. I know some people love that, and that to them is the greatest thing they've ever seen. But it's like, yeah, but they're not drawing the money that the guys that, the supposedly old bitter guys that are running around going, yeah, well, in my day we did a DDT and you were done. Or I kicked you in the gut and then you let it breathe for a while. You got to let it breathe. You got to let the big things be big.
Right.
And not just
less is best. Greg says it too.
Yep.
Less is best. Absolutely. Jay, way too many false finishes in wrestling since down. Right.
I agree. I mean, look, people are looking at and I'm sure there are people that are going to say, well, you love The Undertaker and you love Shawn Michaels and look at their match at Mania 25. Okay, but the reason why all those false finishes worked is because at almost every match before that, they had 20 years of, I hit the tombstone, he's dead, he's beat.
Right.
I hit sweet chin music, he's dead, he's beat.
Right.
You have the legend of both those guys and the legend of all of their maneuvers, so that when they come to that match and it's, I hit him with sweet chin music, he kicked out. Right. I tombstoned him, he kicked out. It matters because the audience is like, there's only maybe 2 people in history that have done that. But if you're doing that every show, now there's 50 people in history that have done it. So it kind of becomes like, and if you're doing a move that somebody more famous than you is doing and they did it as a finish and you can't finish with it, it doesn't necessarily make it look like, wow, the guy he's fighting must be so much tougher. It's more like, well, if Shawn Michaels could beat everybody with it and you can't, what's wrong with you? That you don't know how to do it properly to finish somebody.
Our thanks to every wrestler that popped on here, giving young Raven advice here. And our special thanks to JCM for sending her our way. Raven, we will be watching you with great interest.
Thank you so much.
And I cannot wait to see what happens with you next. Don't go anywhere when we go off the air. Everybody watching within the sound of my voice, Keith and I will be back here next Sunday night with another guest on Around the Turnbuckle. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is 2M1L Media on YouTube. And you can check Raven out with the stars of ECPW in New Jersey. They have a show coming up on February 11th, she said. And Raven, you have been an absolute delight, sweetheart.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day just to interview me.
Oh, it was fun. It was absolutely a treasure, absolutely fun. And I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you had a good time. I hope you had a good time.
It was so much fun. I want to do it again.
Absolutely. All right. So, Keith, we're going to get out of here. Any parting gifts?
Yeah, I mean, again, thank you to everyone that chimed in. We have the best community in the world for wrestling. Everybody is so positive. I think you guys proved that again tonight, where you're talking to someone that's really hasn't even had their first professional match yet, and you're trying to help this girl that you may never get in the ring with. You may never run across her other than on this show. So I just want to...
Thundercat has his way. He's going to go find her. You hear him? He's nuts.
He might. Well, that's fine. That's
don't
why it's
know.
maybe. It's the wrestling business. You never know what can happen.
All right, so we
But
will
yeah,
see.
I appreciate everyone. I appreciate Raven for taking time and coming on here because there's no show without you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. We're going to see everybody next time on Around the Turnbuckle. I'm the Big Alboski. I'm Professor Keith. This is Raven Knight. She's going places. Check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you gonna do, brother? Oh yeah! Woo! What? If you smell